All righty, welcome back, everyone. So next up, we are going to start with our compassion teachings.
Okay. We ready to go?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wonderful. Here we are. Okay. Oh. First of all, it's so lovely to see everyone on the screen. You actually look a lot like the newscasters. Have you noticed that all these newscasters are like in their own little cubby holes, and they're trying to make their backgrounds look as much as it can like the newsroom or something? So this is actually really wonderful. Actually, Rinsen and I have been enjoying watching all the different newscasters and looking at their little their dens, their news dens, and we've also been enjoying looking at everyone's Zen den that they're coming live from. So this compassion piece is pretty.
The video.
Oh, compassion video. Yeah, here we go.
You know, we have a. I saw this this video clip of His Holiness the Dalai Lama giving some teachings, and I would like everybody to pay attention to this together. If our tech Jisha can go ahead and play the video, please.
Dear brothers and sisters, we all same human being. Different color, different race, different nationalities, different.
Technical difficulties.
Should we try again?
Yeah, let's try that again. 1 second. Okay, trying again. No sound, huh? Can you guys hear? I think we're gonna have to send the link around.
This is not the way we expected to do this, but try and pay attention to this. Okay, here we go.
Dear brothers and sisters, we all same human being. Different color, different race, different nationalities, different religion, doesn't matter. We all same human being. In fact, entire 6 billion human beings are same. Mentally, emotionally, physically, same. Now today's reality, your livelihood very much depends on other continent. We have to think the well-being of entire humanity. So sense of global responsibility come only through sense of concern of well-being of other. So therefore, the sense of compassion or sense of concern of other is a key factor to bring real peace, real happy world.
Okay.
I have to address something.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is, you know, a beautiful sentiment from the Dalai Lama. And in fact, he's actually, well, let's back up just for a second. Let's back up. So compassion. Remember that compassion is relieving the suffering of oneself, of ourself, and others. It is one of the two wings of awakening, one of the two wings of enlightenment, one of the two wings of Buddhahood. So the one wing is the compassion wing. The other wing is the wisdom wing. So compassion training is absolutely central and right at the heart of what we do as Buddhist practitioners, as Dharma practitioners. And as Roshi was saying, that this is the time to do a really good job with our practice. And this pause that we're in is so perfect because we get to actually watch our minds. Instead of just having to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, we actually get to take that pause because we're not under all this social pressure being, having to go to work and this, that, and the other thing. So this is like an incredible opportunity for us as bodhisattvas to really dig into what is compassion practice. Now, the main, let's go to the root and to the heart of it, is to change our own hearts and our own minds, how we receive information, how we process the information, and how we respond to the information. Now, this happens no matter what. First is how we wield our minds, right? And we can do this anywhere, anytime, with any condition. Now, we could say, oh, but I can't really practice the kind of compassion I want to because I can't go outside and help so-and-so. Because now if I go outside, I'm actually causing more harm because I could be spreading the virus or so forth and so on. This is true, but this does not in any way stop us from doing more mind training with compassion, how to deepen our compassionate heart, how to grow our compassionate heart. And so the Dalai Lama, the first point of really practicing compassion, and there are steps to practicing compassion. And this first point is equanimity, seeing everyone as the same, seeing everyone as our brother and our sister. So I think when we're looking at images, particularly on the screen, I think I'm mostly going to talk about the media because that seems to be a place that we're all sharing in common right now, and we're all having a lot of feelings about that. So I think it's really easy when we see images on the screen of people in the hospital suffering, or if we see people on the doctors, the EMTs, any kind of images of people helping others, giving of themselves. It's very easy to see, oh, that is like a compassionate action, and feeling like you want to amplify that, feeling gratitude for that. Please continue to do this. Anytime we see a compassionate act in the media or as in our feeds or however we're digesting information right now, to just take a moment and let that spread throughout space and time. Let that be the cause of everyone's enlightenment. Let that heal everyone. The second point about compassion, actually training our mind, and this is so important, is to see the kindness of everyone's activity. Now, how do we see the kindness of someone who's saying something on the media or on the internet that is blatantly wrong, right? and it's causing so much harm, and it's immediately getting our shackles up. Where is the kindness in that? This is where it gets a little tricky, but we can do this. We can do this, and it's really important for our hearts to be able to handle this kind of difficulty. The first thing is to really appreciate that people act in very unexpected ways. Seriously. And the people that we rely on the most, our government officials and so forth and so on, can make huge mistakes. Okay? They don't do things that we think they should be doing. And that's normal, right? That is actually how life is. The second point is to notice, okay, that when we are feeling so angry because they've just made a stupid point, or for instance, it's not time to go back to stop the mitigations of social distancing and so forth, and we get very angry thinking, how could a government official think that we should stop social distancing just to keep the economy going, or so forth and so on. That anger that we're feeling is actually a signal to us to go deeper into our compassionate heart. Because at that moment, we're recognizing the suffering and the humanity of the person delivering the message. We're recognizing it's called benightedness, the delusion, the confusion, the lack of clarity, whatever, of this person delivering this message. Now, as a bodhisattva, the light bulb goes right on. Oh, suffering, yes, yes, yes. So you gave me information that I'm not expecting, that was kind of wrong and doesn't fit anywhere near with my own value system. But I can recognize that you're suffering. And then as a bodhisattva, we know exactly what to do. As soon as we feel that suffering moment in the other person, or in ourselves, we're having to be subjected to that information coming in, we can extend love. We can extend compassion. We can extend wishing the relief of that suffering, wishing that that person would be clearer, have clearer knowledge of the facts. We do not need to perpetuate anger in this moment. We do not have the luxury of indulging in anger in this moment. This is the bodhisattva's ultimate moment of truth, really. When we can use all the ingredients of mistake and confusion and delusion and benightedness and groundlessness and all of these things that cause so much anxiety, to immediately activate our wish and our desire to relieve the suffering. So maybe that's enough.
That's good.
That's good. Okay.
So now we're going to have Shokai give a teaching, a guided meditation on metta practice. Shokai, if you would please.
So I think you can hear me. I hope you can hear me. Okay, good. So I'm sure many of you have already done metta practice. We're going to really follow the classic form today. So, but please feel free to adapt this practice to whatever speaks to you. So it's a very ancient technology, goes back to the time of the Buddha. We know that from the Pali Canon. And how has such a technology lasted for 2,600 years? And how can it speak so clearly to us today? So clearly it speaks to authenticity, right? As everything about our practice does. So what are we doing? So metta is loving kindness, right? It's the first of the four immeasurables, the great factors of awakening. And when we recite the daily home liturgy, how we express that is the wish for happiness. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, right? So in this work on metta, in wishing loving kindness for all beings, our great ally is that wish for happiness. Because, as you know, it can be difficult sometimes to see the good in ourselves, to see the good in others. But it's not difficult to connect with that wish for happiness because it is so intrinsic to our true nature. And just as I wish happiness for myself, so do all beings wish happiness for themselves. This is common to our true nature. So what we're really doing here is connecting. We're breaking down the barriers between self and other, and we're also breaking down the barriers within ourselves. So I have to say, when I first came to metta practice, I thought it was early in my practice and I was very much focused on wisdom. And I thought, well, metta will be a nice sideline, but of course, it's a lot more than that. Because in wisdom practice, what you're doing is you're seeing through the illusion of separateness, right? In metta practice, you're down in the mud of your life doing that work. You're actually eroding the barriers in this body, with this personality, with these people in this life. So that is what we're working on here, is actually meeting these barriers with authenticity. So how do we do it? In the classic format, you deal with different categories of beings. So you start with categories of beings where it's not difficult to feel the wish for happiness for them, a beloved, a benefactor. And then we move on to categories of beings where loving kindness might not automatically arise, might not fill our hearts. So we're working on this dividing line, which of course does not exist, right? This line between finite and infinite love, between where unconditional love flowers in, where conditional love flowers into unconditional love. So what we're doing, of course, is what Roshi was talking about earlier, equanimity practice. We're getting in touch with this wish for loving kindness, this wish for happiness for all beings, and seeing that it is not dependent on likes or dislikes, right? Just like the sun shines down on all things equally without discrimination, so love has no boundaries. It shines down on all beings. And what we're doing is the actual work of realizing that in our lives. So just as a precautionary note, what we're not doing is we're not manufacturing any emotions. I have to say, when I started with metta, I was very afraid that it would be a feel-good, hallmark, mushy practice. And it is as far away from that as you can get. What we're actually doing is authentically meeting the barriers to love that we encounter. So this is not for the faint of heart. And you'll see throughout this practice, every parallel to Zazen, right? This is total cross-training with Zazen because, of course, we're meeting our authentic selves and we're not turning away when the going gets difficult. The other thing I would say is the importance of intention in this practice. So you'll feel a lot of different emotional tones as we work through the categories of beings, and that means you're doing the work, right? But less important than the emotional tones is the working with intention. The image is used of being out in a field and sowing seeds. And that's what we're doing. We're sowing the seeds of intention in the mind to wish all beings happiness, to wish all beings loving kindness. And of course, in our Zen way, which we always express, we're not that tied to the results, right? Those seeds will flower in their own good time, maybe not in this lifetime. What we're concerned with is actually doing the work. So, so let's start. So let's assume a meditative posture. You all know how to do that, right? Let's come into our bodies. Feel your feet on the ground, your legs. Feel your butt on the cushion. Feel that point of contact right there, grounding you. Your torso, strong back, open front. Shoulders, arms, let whatever tension there is just drop into the ground. And bring your awareness to your hands, to your fingers. Relax the muscles around the eyes, unlock the jaw. Now, in the classical format, we work with 4 phrases. And classically, the first one is, may I be free from danger. May I be safe. And this speaks to being free from mental torment and to being free from physical violence. The second one, may I have physical happiness. May I be safe. May I be free from pain. And where I can't be free from pain, may I meet pain with patience, with acceptance, so that physical pain does not translate into mental anxiety. The third one is, may I be peaceful, may I have mental health. And in meeting ourselves and all beings in this commonality of the wish for happiness, of loving kindness, we are of course speaking to our true natures, which is where we find peace. And may I be at ease. And this speaks to our everyday life, to relating to myself, to relating to the people I live with very much in these days, to my work, to all the activities of life. May they not be a struggle. That's what we're speaking to. So we're going to start working through the categories. Traditionally, we start with the self. And I do realize this practice came to be in a culture where there was not this permeating feeling of self-denigration that we feel in the West. So please be very kind to yourself as we start with this wish for happiness for ourselves. If loving kindness doesn't just automatically jump into your heart when you think of yourself, welcome to the club. So there's ways of working with this. We can think of an action of words we've put out into the world that have done good. Maybe a kind word. Maybe you just listened to someone vent. Maybe you shared your practice, as many of you have been doing so beautifully online over the last couple of weeks. You can also think of a quality in yourself, perhaps kindness. Perhaps you can make people laugh. Some quality that brings joy to the world. You can also think of a circumstance. In this practice, you're not bound to time and space. So you can think of yourself as a child, perhaps. For some inexplicable reason this last week, when I do this practice, I think of myself like as a 9-year-old in my backyard in Dublin on a Saturday afternoon, just pottering around in the yard. I have no idea why that is coming up, but whatever comes up for you, just embrace it. And if none of these things work, you always come back to that wish for happiness, this intimate wish that we all have. And then we open our hearts. We open our hearts to the intention for the wish for happiness for ourselves. And we at our own pace say the phrases. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be peaceful. May I be at ease. May I be happy. Say them at whatever pace is meaningful for you, and you can adapt them however speaks to you. This is a very personal practice. If you find yourself distracted or you find resistance coming up, just acknowledge that. If it's very sticky, just acknowledge an old friend arising. And when it feels skillful to you, you come back to the phrase. And so in Zazen, we come back to the phrase, to the breath. In Metta practice, we come back to the phrase. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. So usually I would spend more time on each category, but time passes swiftly by. So we will move on to the second category of being, which is the benefactor, somebody who has done well by us, someone to whom we feel gratitude, we feel respect. It can be a being known personally to us. It can be someone out there in the world doing good. And we bring that person, visualize that person very specifically. You can say their name if you like. And connect with the quality of their goodness, of the goodness they put out into the world, of their generosity. And then we will bathe this being in loving kindness and the wish for happiness. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. If you find distraction or difficulty arising, connect back to that person. Connect to the phrase. And remember, this is a practice of intentionality, of sowing the seeds of the wish for happiness for this being. And now we move on to a being who is beloved to us, for whom we perhaps feel unconditional love. It can be a human, it can be someone living or dead, it can be a beloved pet, it can be someone who puts beautiful music out into the world. Whatever being you choose, whatever brings joy into your heart, visualize that being. Say their name if you like. Connect to that feeling of love, of open-heartedness that being inspires in you. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. And if at any time during this meditation you are feeling overwhelmed in any way, you can always dip back into the feeling for this being. You can go back and forth between categories as is skillful for you. So now we're going to go on to a more difficult category of being, to beings who traditionally are called neutrals, right? Beings that we really don't know. Perhaps we pass by them in the street. Perhaps they serve us coffee. Perhaps someone we pass by in the hallway at work, but we really don't know their story. We don't know anything about them. And the barrier to this practice with this being is perhaps boredom or indifference. So we're going to pick a specific being. And throughout the years I've done this practice, I've worked with different beings. And my latest one is a custodian in the building next to the building where I work. And I cut through there when the weather is bad, when I'm going to the other side of campus. And he is this old, doddering man who just works so slowly, should have probably retired years ago. I know nothing about him. And yet, over the past few weeks doing this practice and bringing him into my awareness, bathing him in loving kindness, when I see him, I feel that open-heartedness. And I don't feel it's through any effort of mine. I feel it's just the practice. And I'm sure he doesn't know. He probably thinks I'm just that goofy woman who smiles. But for me, the practice is just opening my heart. So see if you can find a neutral being and bring them into your awareness. Visualize them. Well, you can't say their name because you might not know that. And then for this being, we wish happiness. May this being be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. If difficulty arises, if you feel indifference, dip back into the feeling of love for that being you love unconditionally, or for your benefactor. Feel your heart open, and eventually come back to the neutral being. And now we're going to move on to, and I would normally go a lot slower, so please don't rush through it like this at home. So now we come to a difficult person. And the recommendation is not to choose your mortal enemy here. Choose someone who is difficult, someone who is mildly irritating, someone you might cross the road when you see them coming. And bring this being into your heart. Visualize them, say their name. I, for many years, used this practice with a coworker, a woman who was very rigid, very cold, very difficult to work with. But she loved her cat. And I found this was a really useful technique, was to find something about this being, some redeeming feature about this being. And the only time she would open up to us was when she was talking about her cat. And I haven't seen this woman in years. And still when I think of her, I think about her talking about her cat with such love. So clearly, even within this heart of not being able to share with other people, where's that seed of love? So see if you can perhaps find this redeeming feature about the person you have chosen. And I would caution here that, if you're dealing with a being who's done you wrong, we're not, as Roshi always says, we're not making ourselves the doormats here. We're not justifying any actions. If anything here, we're separating the person from the action. And of course, in Buddhism, we're not really concerned with judgment, with right or wrong. What we're concerned with is suffering. When I think of that woman, I think of the suffering that must be in her life to be so isolated. So let's bring that being into the heart of loving kindness. May they be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. And again, if difficulty arises, dip back into that feeling for the benefactor, the feeling for the being you love unconditionally. And when you're ready, come back to that difficult being. And now let's extend the heart of loving kindness even further to all beings. And a recommended technique in doing this is to look at beings in terms of groups, so we can really expand love. So we can look at beings in terms of beings that are known to me, beings that are unknown to me, beings that are near, beings that are far, beings that are being born, beings that are dying, beings that are in existence, beings that have yet to come into existence. And in working with these categories, we notice that we're more resistant to the feeling of love for certain categories than others. And that's a good thing to notice that, because that's what we're working on, that barrier. So because we don't have a lot of time, let's go with beings everywhere. So let's start with all of us here in this virtual Zendo. May we all be happy. May we all be safe. May we all be peaceful. May we all be at ease. And then let's extend it out to our families, to our loved ones, to our neighbors, to our communities, to our cities, our states, our provinces. May all of these beings be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. And then out further to all beings in our country, to all beings in Canada, to all beings in North America, all beings in Central and South America, all beings in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Africa, in India, in China, in Korea, in Japan, all beings in Australia, New Zealand, the Arctic, the Antarctic, to all beings on this beautiful planet. May all of them be safe. May they be well. May they be peaceful. May they be at ease. May they be happy. And now let's extend it out further. Let's extend it out through the galaxies, out beyond the furthest stars, to all beings throughout space and time. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. May all beings be happy. So thank you for your practice, everyone. And we go back to the teachers, I believe.
Thank you so much for the beautiful guided meditation and practice with Metta. I'm greatly nourished by your guidance there. And it's a very serious practice, this cultivating the mind of kindness, this cultivating the mind of generosity. So it's integral to the way a bodhisattva combusts their life. And it's not an abstract thing, folks. This is not some fairy tale for another day. It's for right now. It's for this time. It's for this place. It's with these people in this day. Let us have the Dharma flourish. Let our practice be strong. And really, let's live out of and into our vows. I want to thank you all for making time to be here today. It's a delight to practice and to connect. And I think Suise has a few announcements before we do our concluding moment together.
Hi, Sangha. I think I've got unpinned. Let's see. Can you see me? Okay, cool. All right. So thank you all for being here today. A couple announcements. Later, we'll have the video of this. We'll have the video with the full Q&A for members. We might edit some parts out for the public. And we'll have links to a transcript of this. We've got a file going where you can add your gathas, and we'll put all that into our Ango guide. So look out for that information tonight and tomorrow. And then a week from today, same time, 2 o'clock, we're going to get members together for some more teachings. Again, that'll be 2 to 4. We're going to work on refining the Ango teachings and maybe a little bit more Buddhist magic. It won't be for the public. Again, that'll be a private group thing with more time for check-in and getting together 2 to 4 next Saturday. Those are our big announcements. All right.
All right, everybody, if I could see a show. Let me respectfully remind you, life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us should strive to awaken, take heed. Do not squander your life. All right, thank you, everybody. Much love and much practice. Thank you very much, everybody, for supporting the Sangha during this time, too. It's great. See you next time.